Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us for the Superintendent's Report. I'm Carol Birdsong, and joining me on this last week of school is Superintendent Jason Golden. So we are going to sort of wrap up the school year, talk about the May school board meeting, do some celebrations, and maybe touch on some things to look forward to over the summer. So thank you for being here. We do have some celebrations to talk about. We have been, I would say, kind of dominant, if you want to say that, when it comes to TSSAA new sports, and that would be lacrosse and flag football.
Well, Carol, you mentioned celebrations, and this is the time of year for us to celebrate. We spend a lot of time celebrating our students because our students do some amazing things. And you mentioned the school board meeting. At the beginning of every school board meeting, you actually announce state and national awards for our students. But this one that you just mentioned, we actually didn't even mention at the May meeting because it had just happened. So you mentioned new sports. This year, TSSAA for the first time is having a state championship in both girls flag football and lacrosse. And there are two boys divisions and two girls divisions in lacrosse. And you mentioned domination from Williamson County Schools. I want to speak first to girls flag football. We actually started piloting girls flag football just a little bit less than 3 years ago. We had a grant from the Tennessee Titans, and it made it possible for us to work on that just within our schools. And our students got that proverbial leg up on the community. Metro Nashville schools have started teams as well. And for the first inaugural state championship, our Ravenwood girls won it. So we're very excited about that. It's an amazing sport. It's been just really a breath of fresh air for our community for girls flag football. It's become almost a picnic style party at some of those games on Sunday afternoons. It's been really great for our students, and our students are excellent at it. So we're excited for that.
That's right.
On the lacrosse side, I mentioned that we got girls flag football started here in the state with the support of the Tennessee Titans. On the lacrosse side, our community has been doing lacrosse for decades now, and TSSAA has adopted the sport. And I got to tell you, it's nothing that we did as WCS other than facilitating it, but we have had some volunteer coaches over the years where our students have grown as lacrosse players here in Tennessee. And of those 3 state championships, boys, girls, each with 2 categories, the large school and the small school category, single A and double A, our students won 3 of them.
That's right. 3 out of 4.
It was amazing. And in boys, we had 2 schools competing against each other, Franklin High School versus Nolensville High School. Nolensville High School boys won the large school category. We did not have a team in the finals in the small school category for boys, but our girls at Brentwood High School and our girls at Page High School won those 2 state championships. Really great for those students. And TSSAA events are still going on as we sit here today. Baseball, softball, track and field, those events, soccer as well, boys soccer. It's spring fling, and we have schools participating in all those activities. So it's a real exciting time in the spring. As we record this, we are also having our high school graduations the same week.
That's right.
I actually am aware of one conflict where our students are going to be competing for a state championship, and they're going to be pushing it to actually make it to their high school graduation.
You know what? That seems to happen almost every year because our students are so well-rounded, I would say, in athletics, academics, and the arts.
And you mentioned that, you said, let's do something else. I feel like I need to mention this little extra bit. I actually had an email from a parent whose child was looking to compete in one of those, and the suggestion was, couldn't we move graduations a week earlier and maybe reduce that scheduling challenge? Well, the answer is we have more events going on the week before graduation than we have during graduation. Yeah. And so you're really trading off one event for the other. And so one of the challenges is our students are doing so much that there's always that potential. You know, we have a couple thousand students graduating every year. There's always that potential for a scheduling conflict for those really good events.
So speaking of graduation, we have 7 graduation scheduled for Thursday evening as we record this on a Tuesday. Thursday evening, we'll have 7 graduations. I think it's 2 on Friday and then 2 more on Saturday, if I'm doing my calculations correctly. So those are always exciting times. You said how many students do you think we'll have graduating?
Well, I said a couple thousand. Actually, it's a little over 3,000. A little over 3,000 students graduating. We have 11 high schools, as you mentioned. We have what we think of as 9 traditional high schools, and we have Renaissance High School, that is an application high school. It's a lot smaller, and Vanguard Virtual High School, and each one of those will have their graduation ceremony. Most of them are on campus this year.
Yeah.
Brentwood High School and Ravenwood High School are actually using some facilities up in Nashville at Belmont University and Lipscomb University, respectively. Those are our Saturday graduations. So many of our schools have found it's just a real nice family feel to do it on their high school campuses.
Boy, and I tell you what, when the weather cooperates, there is nothing more beautiful than a high school graduation on a Thursday night or Friday night. And I do believe, fingers crossed, that the weather is going to cooperate this year again. And I'm looking forward to seeing all of those photos and things. In the communications department, will be out in full force covering all the graduations. So you will see that in InFocus. Then I guess it'll be the Wednesday after Memorial Day, and then you'll see it on all of our social media channels. So take a look for sure. And speaking of photos, I tell you, I have to brag just a minute about the communications department, because we have some of the best photographers out there, and we always love it when we post photos from athletic events or fine arts events, and we post them on social media. And the comments that that you guys share with our team really does make a great impact on members of our department. We appreciate you liking those pictures and sharing those pictures of our talented students and staff. So I had to put that plug in.
I think there's a lot of value in what you're saying. I use the app regularly, and I don't know that you mentioned that specifically.
I didn't mention the app, you're right.
But all the events at Williamson County Schools, I encourage folks spend some time, especially this coming fall. Go to a ball game, go to a play, go to a concert. You'll be glad you did. In that vein, you mentioned graduations, and I want to mention this. We have what we call our Transition 2 program, and it is for students with disabilities who have a modified curriculum. They actually can stay as Williamson County School students until the year they reach the age of 22. And that's a federally based program, but the reality is the federal rules are not driving us. Making sure that we give students great opportunities to grow and have some job skills before they finish that program is really important to us. So this year we had, if I have the number correct, 36 students from our Transition 2 programs across the county have a ceremony congratulating them for their work. And again, it's the year they turn age 22, they finished that school year. So all of those students were age 22. I popped into the event. When I say popped in, I had another event I had to be at, so I got there late and stood in the back and watched that great event. It was so neat to see the structure that our teachers gave in celebration for those students with disabilities. We had students raising their hands and just celebrating and shouting, applauding each other. The structure our teachers gave for that was they did a senior superlative structure and gave some real fun awards to our students with disabilities, and then had them walk across the stage a second time. And it was just a great event. It just reminds me of our excellent community. And one of the reasons it reminded me of that was there were many thank yous to various businesses and corporations for the help and opportunities that they've given our students with disabilities over this past year. And Carol, there were over 40 local businesses, some of them large corporations, some of them the proverbial mom and pop businesses, that have found ways to give opportunities in our community for our students with disabilities. Those students will be transitioning to some jobs that were offered to them by those businesses. Some of them will be transitioning to some technical education. Some of them will be transitioning to some other programs that are in the community for adults, such as Brightstone. Just a really great continuity of services that we provide those students who have made such a difference in our students. I think about we have some students who are cheerleaders who cheer on their classmates and have been there a good number of years up through age 22. So it's a huge transition for them. Not only are 17, 18, and 19-year-olds graduating as seniors, but we have other students rolling out of our programs that we want to celebrate.
You mentioned the community and business involvement. And, you know, we always say that we would not be the district that we are without those business friends, partners, community support. And there are so many businesses that give time. They may give financial support to our schools, but the time and volunteering and just that overall support. And it is the right time, of course, to always, as we close out this school year, thank them for that. So let's move on to some business, if we can. The school board held its monthly May meeting, so let's kind of go over a lot of budget transfers and different things back and forth as we wrap up this 24-25 school year. So just talk about tying up those budget ends, if you will, for the school year, and then looking forward to the budget process that's still taking place.
Well, so budget is a big issue for us. We serve about 42,000 students, so from an organizational perspective, we're quite large. About 86% of our total budget is people. We're in the people business. We have teachers, teachers' assistants, bus drivers, maintenance staff, on down the line, all those folks who are serving our students. So we go through an annual budget process. Some people I talk to who are new to the community, even new to Tennessee, don't realize that our budget process is actually what I think of as bifurcated. It's broken in two. Our school board makes decisions related to the expense side of our budget, and then our county commission ultimately has to make decisions on the revenue side of the budget and actually approve our budget. Our school board does not have the power to levy taxes like so many other communities across the country. So we have two elected bodies who make those decisions. The reality is we actually have three elected bodies who make those decisions because part of our funding is from the state. So Williamson County is almost unique in Tennessee in the amount of funding we get from the state compared to local. The structure in Tennessee is that Williamson County is a net giver to the state for funding purposes. So we give more out than we receive from the state. So about 2/3 of our budget is funded by county government. So we go through that process, that budgeting process with county government. As we sit here in late May, we are in the middle of that process. Our school board approved our budget a couple of months ago, and we run through multiple meetings with different committees of the county commission for them to vote on our budget. Their ultimate voting decision will be on June 20th. But at our May meeting, our board voted on this coming year's pay scales for our teachers, for our classified employees, which includes maintenance and bus drivers, to our leadership, to our principals, counselors. Everyone in the district in essence, had a proposal for their pay. What we know, and we let the county commission know about 6 months ago, is the plan that the county government had to give some raises to their folks, which usually includes us, was not funded sufficiently with last year's money for us to be able to do that kind of raise that the county's looking for. And frankly, the raise is pretty modest. They're looking for a 4% raise. And if you think about inflation.
County government is looking at a 4% raise.
That's correct.
Okay.
And they were looking to fund us for enough to do that as well. And we knew we had a gap in funding based on what we're projected to receive from the state. And that gap is $12 million. And that feels, in raw numbers, that's a lot. The reality is that's going to cover maybe 2.5% to 3% worth of a raise. A total raise, if you think about the volume and size of who we are, it's about $16 million to do 4%. But our plan was not just to give 4% to everybody because we had to look at market conditions. Our plan includes a plan to increase our supplements for those coaches, for those arts teachers who are spending time with students after school. And we also looked at where the market is our biggest challenge. And we know that our biggest challenge for staffing is teachers. Mm-hmm. They're the core of what we do, and we're constantly competing with our neighbors for a smaller pool of teachers. And so our focus with our plan, with our spending plan, actually increased the pay for many of our teachers beyond that 4%. The reality is, if you have that funding for 4% and you give more to one group, you need to pull away from some others. So we let market drive that. We had a full proposal to our school board for pay increases with that emphasis on teachers. Leadership, our projection was the vast majority of them get a 2% increase. Our board had a lot of discussion about that, actually a couple of motions that passed and failed, and ultimately our board approved our pay charts for this coming year. We're very thankful to them for that. But we had a caveat. Our budget has not yet passed the county commission. So all those are pending budget approval by the county commission. For the county commission, they knew about 6 months ago we weren't going to have enough from the state and we were going to need some additional help. This is a reappraisal year for county government. The reappraisals have come out. This is an amazing stat, and I'm speaking a little bit for county government on this, but it's just amazing to me. Our total real estate property values have gone up by more than 52% in the last cycle, which is a 4-year cycle. Property values have increased, to use an old country saying, more than half again what they were 4 years ago. It's a lot. And so the process they go through is the tax rate drops down to the new valuations countywide, and then they have to make decisions on how do they fund things that have become more expensive. So they're going through that process. Okay. I'm speaking for them a little bit, but the total revenue is going to drop. Different people will get an increase in their taxes. Some might get a decrease in their taxes if their property values did not grow as fast as some other neighbors on other parts of the county. But they're making all those decisions on June 20th. They have, the budget committee made a recommendation to fund our budget with that and fill that gap for us, but ultimately the full commission is going to have to vote.
Okay. All right.
It's a lot.
It is. So in a nutshell, all employees of Williamson County Schools will get some sort of raise.
That's correct. Our proposal is that everyone gets a minimum 2%, which is kind of a cost of living structure. Actually, the Social Security Administration earlier this year gave a 2.5% cost of living increase to Social Security beneficiaries. For us, our minimum is 2%. We've taken that additional and put more towards coaching and director supplements.
The supplements
for band directors and choral directors, and put a little extra into teachers. And those of us who are in those other parts of the market that did not have that pressure will be getting a minimum 2%.
Okay. Sounds good. What else is in the budget that we need to know about?
Well, I'll tell you, one big piece is computers, and I think it's worth us talking about that. We have a structure with our devices where just the last 5 years or so, we've had every student assigned a Chromebook or a personal device. And we made some value judgments, and we did a little bit of analysis of our actual usage in the district, and we're shrinking that back a little bit this coming year. It was time to purchase computers for elementary schools, replacement computers. And we did a little research on our students' usage. Generally speaking, on average, our students in school spend somewhere between 30 and 45 minutes on a computer at school. And it's interesting, there's what almost has become a myth out there that our students are on devices all the time. In a 7.5-hour school day, 30 to 45 minutes on computers is what we found are actual. So because we knew the actual was not that much, we've actually made a decision that we are not assigning computer devices to students in grades K and 1. And in the older grades, we are no longer going to have all those students at the elementary schools have to take their devices home with them every day. So we included in our budget purchasing carts, which for those folks who had children who might be in their 20s, they remember carts.
They were actually called cows.
Computers
on wheels. Yes. So.
And so we've actually put that in our budget so that our students don't have to carry those devices home with them. Because frankly, at the elementary school, we do have state standards for computer literacy, but they're not overwhelming, and we feel like we can step back a little bit. As part of that, I want to mention two big pieces. One, The data from the state in establishing those computer standards actually include in their standards some research that from 2022 that indicates before students get to us, and this is from age 3 to 5, children are spending upwards of 2.5 hours a day on devices even before they get to us. That's a lot. Mm-hmm. And there's research that indicates as they get older, they spend even more. And what we know based on our data, compared to what's happening in schools, there's a lot happening elsewhere. Yeah. We've actually created a committee to review student time on screens, student screen time. That committee
while they're at school.
It's more than that. We've actually, the content of what our committee is going to look at is what's the instructional purpose? What are we doing while at school that's non-instructional? And we are adding pieces related to student usage outside of school and the potential impact it might have on us and what we might do to address that. And so we already have some folks who, we've had some people tell our board members, you need to prohibit devices in our schools. And what we know is that statistically speaking, if there's a need, it is largely something that's happening outside of school, but we want to have some discussions about this. Part of what might result from this committee may be some structures and restrictions on usage at school. Maybe it's personal devices outside of school time. Part might be some recommendations to parents to inform them about what might be going on outside of school. But what we also know is, as large as we are, every human thought related to this is going to be represented in our community. So we want to be very thoughtful. There might be a parent who says, I want you to prohibit devices in schools, and there's another who might say, I want to be able to, at classroom breaks, check on my child, be able to have a text with them. And we know all those things happen. We also know that theoretically, a parent can say, if I don't want my child to have a device, they can make sure they don't have a device. But what we know is for practical purposes, that theory is not happening in our schools. And so we're going through a deep evaluation of that in our community. I anticipate we're going to have some community discussions. We know that there's a trend that's really starting up, especially in those higher performing areas, to look at this. We think the wise thing to do is to look at it. But again, I want to give this caveat. Every thought about what ought to be done is going to be represented in our community. We're going to be thoughtful about the approach we take and make sure we have input from families before we make any decisions that you might feel related to that.
There is some new cell phone legislation, I believe, and that will kick in for next school year as well. So I don't know if you're ready to speak to that, because I know there are lots of laws that we're still going through and processing and before we implement them.
I actually am ready to speak with it. I am familiar with the legislation. I actually had a conversation with one of our legislators who said that this legislation was introduced because they had heard it had been difficult for schools to set standards. So the legislation actually sets this standard, that students shall not have personal devices in use during class time unless directed to by the teacher. That's been our basic standard, but the reality is it hasn't been something that we've policed very aggressively. I'll walk into a classroom, I'll sit in class sometimes, and a teacher might have one of those shoe racks, those cloth shoe racks, and say, put your phone in there as soon as you step into my class. So that's been our standard, but enforcement, just to be as clear as I can, hasn't been complete and perfect across the district. So we are going to make sure we enforce that. Our board will be talking about a policy related to that new law. They have the ability to go beyond the basics of the law. The law says no personal devices during class time unless directed by the teacher. I believe, as I sit here today, that we have the potential to take that step now and evaluate it via our committee on whether we need to go further based on what our community needs rather than what's happening elsewhere.
Okay, very good. Well, we will be talking again about back to school stuff a little closer to back to school time. So we still need to cover a couple of more topics because Williamson County Schools still operates all through the summer months. And so we have summer school actually coming up. And I know that folks, parents are being notified if there is a need for your child to go attend summer school. So talk about that process. It's become really, I think, a kind of a well-oiled machine really in our district.
Thank you for that. So about 3 years ago, the state established what they call summer camps for especially for third graders who might not have met certain standards on the statewide testing, what we call TCAP. They call it summer camp. It's not camp, it's summer school.
Yeah.
And the structure for that is 4 weeks, 4 days per week in June. So we're going to have, in essence, a 16-day summer school that's in earnest the month of June with Fridays off. It's actually turned out to be a really good program. The state funds it. They've been funding it so far. And it is actually for grades K through 8. And we're going to have somewhere between 3,000 and 3,200 students in our summer school program in those elementary and middle grades. And the design of it is to help students not have such a fall off from that last day of school in the spring to that first day of school in the fall, what folks often describe as learning loss. For us, it's been really good. It's actually been an excellent program. There was a structure just in the last couple of years at the state level that if third graders don't attend based on their TCAP scores, they can't advance to the next grade. Based on changes in legislation, that crisis point has really shifted from 4th grade to 5th grade. So we've had those conversations with our families about what to expect. We just received what we call quick scores on TCAP that actually specifically identify which students we're recommending to go to that summer school. But the reality is, by and large, most parents knew that their students that their children might be on the edge of that already, and we've already got those signups for the summer school program. Mm-hmm. Now, that's summer school or summer camp for those grades K through 8. Some of our high school students are doing what we call credit recovery. They might not have passed a class. They might not know as we sit here today whether they're going to pass a class, and they might take at the high school some credit recovery to make sure that they get those credits. For example, and if they failed Algebra 1, they really need that credit before they can move next year to geometry. So we'll be doing that at the high schools. A third big program in the summer is what we call extended school year for students with disabilities, ESY. A lot of our students with disabilities will be taking some extended programs, again, to reduce that learning loss. So that old story about schools shutting down for the summer is a long ago myth here in Williamson County.
That's right.
It's interesting, Carol, we don't talk about logistics much, but our maintenance department does some major work in our buildings in the summertime because it's hard to do a lot of hammering and sawing in the middle of a school day. So they've had to be very thoughtful about scheduling at different schools based on what's going on during the summer. We actually plan our summer school program to rotate so that some major renovations can be done by our maintenance department during that short window of the summer.
And I've got some more for you. If you look back at past issues of InFocus, which is our email newsletter, and that lives on our website at wcs.edu, you will find so many summer camps programs presented by our athletic departments, our fine arts departments. There are so many opportunities for your child to be involved in activities. So if you haven't gotten them signed up, you better get busy because they fill up fast. But there are opportunities across the county. So we hope that you are able to take advantage of those. And now I must say that our time is up. And we will, I guess, do this again, maybe like July before school starts, 1st of August.
I think we do have a plan to do a welcome back to school, kind of those things you need to know. We haven't spent a lot of time talking about potential changes for next year, but we will be communicating those directly with our teachers just to make sure they're aware. And those things we haven't yet communicated with our families, we'll be letting them know that in July.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thank you for an informative program. And thank you for joining us for the Superintendent's Report.